find me in 1 Kings chapter 19. 1 Kings chapter 19. And I'm going to start right at that first verse. I'm going to read verses 1 through 6. I want to welcome you to the introduction of our new series entitled The Reset. How many need some things to reset in their life? Ever just felt like you just wanted to hit that reset button on your life? Say, like, if I could just get a brand new start, I know that some things I would do a little differently the next time. Amen? Amen. So we're going to move forward. Are we ready? 1 Kings 19. And I'm reading from the New King James Version. 1 Kings 19, verse 1. It says, "And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done. Also, how he had executed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life as one of their lives, or one of them by tomorrow, about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and ran for his life, and went to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself, he went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree. And watch this. And he prayed that he might die, and said, It is enough now, Lord. Take my life, for I am no better than my fathers. Then as he lay and slept under a broom tree, suddenly an angel touched him, and said to him, Arise and eat. Then he looked, and there by his head was a cake baked on coals, and a jar of water. So he ate and drank, and lay down again. By this being the introduction to the series, I simply want to talk about just that, the reset. I want to talk about the reset, amen? And I feel that in order to put this in context, we're going to have to backtrack a little bit. So can we go on a journey for a moment? Here in this particular passage, we see a few characters. We see Elijah, we see Ahab, and we see Jezebel. A lot of us, if we grew up in traditional churches, we heard a whole lot about Jezebel, amen? Amen. But Jezebel was Ahab's wife. Ahab at this time was the king of Israel. And he was a wicked king. He was a king that believed in false gods, persuaded by his wife Jezebel. Amen. So let's see what leads up until this point. We know, those of us that are familiar with Elijah, we know Elijah did some great and mighty works for God. Amen. And so Elijah, being sent by God, God saw that Israel was under an unfit king. Israel had gotten to a point where they had split up into two sections. Not only that, they had begun worshiping other gods except the true and living God. And so Ahab had a big part in this. So by him having a big part in him, the word of the Lord came to Elijah, and he told Elijah, he said, I want you to go into the land, and I want you to curse the land and tell them there'll be no rain. We remember that story? We've preached that before. Where he told Elijah to go in and tell them there will be no rain until God spoke again. And so Elijah, being the mighty man of God he is, he goes out and he tells them exactly that. He shuts up heaven. Now, I can imagine they felt some type of way about here are them. They're worshiping these idol gods. And the true and living God sent his prophet to them, not to tell them they're going to get something new, or they're going to get something bigger, or they're going to get something greater. But he tells them that there will be no rain for a certain length of time. This was questioning to them because if you know anything about coastal land, this is how, we live in Mobile. So we understand that coastal land, we live off the water, right? So for there not to be any water means there's going to be a drought. And when you have a drought in a land that's directly dependent on water, it dries up everything. Huh? That takes care of all your crop. That takes care of all of your fishing. When there's a drought, it affects every area of the industry. So this is what he did. He walked in there all cocky and bold, and he said, you know what? Oh, wicked king, there's going to be no rain until I say so. And so some time had passed between this point, and here God is. He tells him to go back. So now a period of time has passed by. God tells Elijah, I want you to go back, and I want you to tell him that I'm going to release the rain again. So after doing all of this and going through all of this time with no rain, you're in a drought, you're struggling, you're in a recession, you would think they will be happy to see the man of God come back and say that the rain's coming back, you know. Because when I go through a drought, it does me nothing. It does me good to have somebody tell me that what I've lost is coming back. Amen? And so he shows up, and he's on this journey, and he's trying to make his way to see Ahab. Well, the Bible says that he runs up on this man named Obadiah. Obadiah was kind of a man that was caught in the middle. You know, he served the king, but he did what God wanted him to do also. So he runs up on this man, Obadiah. He says, I need you to let the king know that I'm here. And Obadiah, being scared, he says, man, I can't go to the king and tell him you're alive, because if you haven't heard by now, the king has issued a decree for me and other people to kill all of God's prophets. And if I go and tell him that you are alive, that means I didn't kill you. So if I don't kill you, that means he's going to kill me. So he's kind of caught in the middle. But nevertheless, Elijah tells him, he said, I want you to go back and get him because I got a message for him. And so he does just that. He goes and gets Ahab, and he brings him back, and him and Elijah have a meeting. Now, this is where I think Elijah got real cocky, because God sent him there. He said, I want you to go there. I want you to restore the land. I want you to tell the people that the rain is coming back. But he doesn't do that at first. First thing Elijah does, he says, he begins to see the fact that they've been worshiping other gods. And by this time, the worship of the god called Baal had spread out through the land, that they had 450 prophets. Think about it. 450 in this one region of the country. Had 450 prophets, and there was one more god that had 400 prophets. I mean, they were doing this thing big. They had spread this thing broad. So Elijah said, you know what I'm going to do? I want to issue a challenge. He said, what I want you to do is, I want you to go get all 850 of them men, and I want you to bring them to the place, and we're going to have a showdown. This would have been in the part in the movie. Y'all know those old cartoons where they issued a duel? They issued a duel, and they would take that glove out and slap them in the face. Yeah. Y'all remember that? This would be that part of the movie. He said, I want to issue a challenge. He said, I want you to go and get all 850 of them men and meet me by myself. That's bold, ain't it? That's a mighty man of God. That's a man that got some real faith. I love God, but I can't say I got faith like that quite yet. I'm still working. God's still working on me in some areas. He said, I want you to get 850 men, and I'm going to show up by myself. And so they went and got the men, all 850 of them, but he only performed the ritual with the 450 that worship Baal. So here it is. They're standing in a place of worship. They're standing in a place where you give sacrifices. And when they got there, he said, now what I want you to do, I want you to go get you a bull. We're both going to do the same thing. I want you to go get you a bull. I want you to cut him up. I want you to put him on some wood. And we're going to offer a sacrifice. Now, I don't want you to light the wood. I just want you to leave the bull there lit. And he said, now I'm going to let you go first. You go ahead and get everything together how you want it. And I'm going to let you go first. And I want you to call on your God and ask him to send fire down and consume your offering. He said, so here it is. Elijah has his stage set up, and they have their stage set up. And they've cut their bull, and they have that bull on the altar, on top of the wood, and they're waiting on the fire. Elijah was cocky, y'all. He had some real boldness. Now he said, I want you to call on your God and tell him to consume this bull. Consume this burnt offering. And the Bible said they begin to call. They begin to cry out to Baal and tell him to come consume the offering. Watch this. Not only did they cry a little while, they cried all day. Here it is. We can't come to church for 1 hour. and they're worshiping a God that does not exist, and they cry to him all day. The Bible said that they begin to cry out, Baal, come consume this offering. And nothing happened. 10 o'clock came. They kept crying out to Baal. Nothing happened. 11 o'clock came. They kept crying out to him. The Bible said they even went so far as begin to slash themselves to let him know how dedicated they were to him. And nothing happened. So 12 o'clock came and nothing happened. The Bible said that Elijah began to mock him. He said, cry louder. Surely your God can hear you. He began to pick on him. Show how brash he was. He said, cry louder. Surely your God's not deaf. Surely he can hear you. He began to mock and make fun of the fact that they were trying to worship a God that did not exist. The Bible said, and nothing happened. And so watch this. If you ain't know enough about Elijah, this is really going to bring it home for you. So, after they got through all of their rituals, after they got through with all of their cutting, after they got through all of their crying and chanting and dancing, and nothing happened, Elijah said, okay, now it's my turn. So before he ever did anything, before he ever called on God, before he ever asked God to consume the offering, watch what Elijah does. Elijah tells some men to go get 4 huge buckets of water. He said, I want you to take that water and I want you to douse it all over the sacrifice. Now, I don't claim to be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but the last time I checked, water and fire don't go together. They don't go together. If I see a small fire in my house, I dash some water on it, it's gone, right? He said, what I want you to do, I want you to go pour water on it. 4 big drums of it. And he said, not only do I want you to do it once, I want you to do it 3 times. The Bible said that he poured so much water on the sacrifice. This is faith. I need you to see this. This is faith. He said, he poured so much water on the sacrifice. The Bible said that it consumed the whole sacrifice. Meaning, it was so much water, you couldn't even see what they were trying to set fire to. The Bible said that it was a trench he dug around it also. Not only did it consume the sacrifice, but water was in the trench. This is a mighty man of God, man with great faith. You have to have faith in God to put water on something you want him to light on fire. And the Bible said after he did all that in the eyes of the people, he simply said a small prayer. God, I'm here. I need you in this moment to show these people that you're the true and living God. And the Bible said after he prayed that prayer, fire came down from heaven and consumed the entire offering. Not only did it consume the burnt offering, but it consumed the water. Now, when have you ever, outside of water being in a pot and it steaming itself out, when have you ever seen fire burn on top of water? This man had to have some great faith in order to believe that God would set fire to something that was doused in water when they had cried all day long and nothing happened. Great faith. I need you to see this, because this is chapter 18 I'm talking about now. We hadn't got to 19. This is chapter 18. This is the Elijah everybody likes to talk about. The Elijah that shut up heaven. The Elijah that called fire down from heaven. This is the Elijah we like to talk about when we preach good sermons and have everybody raising their hand and have everybody shouting and dancing. This is what we like to talk about, don't we? Watch this. And when he performed this miracle, it was right at the end of 18. End of 1 Kings chapter 18. Right at the end, the last verse ends up talking about after he burnt the offering, he told them to captivate all of the prophets and kill them. Take them out. The Bible didn't say who he had to help him, because as far as the Bible is concerned, he was there by himself, along with all the people of the country. So it had to be that they felt he was more powerful than them to overtake them. 850 people. He said, I want you to captivate them. And he took them to a place and he had them executed. And so now the king finds out about this. King finds out about this. And in the midst of Elijah restoring the water, he goes back home. He goes back home, and he tells his wife, ain't that just like us? Ain't that just like, right, this is the king. Right in the midst of a heated situation that you need to handle, he told his wife. And he tells his wife everything. The Bible said he told her everything happened. He said, you wouldn't believe what Elijah done to our prophets. He said he killed all of them. And so, her being who she wasn't going down like that. So she sent a message to Elijah and said, if I don't kill you by this time tomorrow, may the gods do to me exactly what you did to my prophets. She was bold with it. And in a moment of fright, Elijah got scared. The Bible said that he fled the country and he went to a certain town, left his servant there, and then he went into the wilderness. And the Bible said that he cried out to God and he asked God to take his life. This morning I want to talk to somebody that's ever felt like giving up. I want to talk to somebody that spends their whole life with this exterior motive as if we have no problems. Here it is, a man that can call fire down from heaven. But because of a moment of frustration, he wants God to take his life. This was the Elijah that called the fire down from heaven. This is the Elijah that God spoke to him and told him, there will be no rain until you say so. The same man, just a few moments later, finds himself on his knees begging God to take his life. The Bible said it. He told God, it is enough. Have you ever got to a point in your life where you just felt like I can't take it anymore? See, y'all are not going to be real with me this morning. Because see, what we like to do, we like to hide behind masks. You know, we try to put on this exterior man where we don't have no problem, we don't have no issues, we don't have nothing going on with us. Everything that goes on in our life, we can take it with a grain of salt. But really, when we come down to it, there's some crying times in our life. There's some times where we want to give up. There's some times where we feel like our brain is just going to pop because we can't take it no more. So that's what I want to talk about this morning. I want to talk about the reset. See, the problem here with Elijah was the fact that sometimes you can have success too fast, too soon. How many know that? Sometimes success too fast, too soon will kill you. You don't believe me? There was a story about 10 or 12 years ago about a man winning the lotto, and before he ever had a chance to cash the check, he died from the excitement of winning. Sometimes success too fast, too soon can kill you. It also tells us that you cannot always judge somebody's state of mind or state of being by their success. Because it's very true that I could be successful on the outside and dying on the inside. It is very true that everything around me can look like everything I touch turns to gold. But on the inside, I feel like I'm not worth it. I'm wondering if Elijah knew some things about himself that nobody else knew. I'm wondering if Elijah had some hang-ups or some inconsistencies. Because what would cause a man of this much faith to want to give up? You know me, if I put my hand in some water and it warms up, you ain't telling me nothing. If I speak and somebody listens and it manifests in my life, I feel like I'm doing something. This man called fire down from heaven, and here he is, wanting his life to end. There will be times in your life, even in moments of success, even when it looks like you're on now, there will be moments in your life where you feel like you're going to break. I can be a witness. There will be moments in your life where you feel like what you're toting is too heavy for you. I got a story. I was in the gym some time ago, and working out with a friend, and me and him working out, and he's a little more educated in the workout area. You know, I claim to be pretty educated, but he's been doing it for a long time. So I like to be around people that know something better than I do. You know, I've always been the type of person, I never wanted to be the smartest one in the room. Kind of want to be somewhere in the middle. I want to be in the middle where I can help somebody up, but I also want to be in a spot where somebody can help me up further. Amen. So me and him were working out, and he grabbed something. Now, he's a little bigger than me, y'all. He grabbed it, and he began to lift. I was like, man, that's kind of impressive in my head, you know. Us men, we ain't going to admit that to another man, but I'm in my head, I'm like, man, that's kind of impressive. So I went to grab it, I'm thinking he's going to take some weight off. He's like, no, that's you right there. He said, I don't care if you do 2 or 3 of them, you're going to do them today. Okay. So I grabbed it, and it ain't moved. I'm like, wait a minute. This is a little heavier than I even thought it was. It was heavy. And so I grabbed it again, went to lift up on it. It didn't move. I was like, man, you got to take some weight off. He's like, not today. You're going to get this today. He said, what you don't understand is it ain't the weight. It's how you're handling the weight. See, we were doing deadlifts and shoulder shrugs. And I was trying to do a shoulder shrug with my hands together. If anybody know anything about a shoulder shrug, it does not work that way. Here it is, I'm trying to drag almost 300 pounds and pull it up with my hands together. He said, no. Widen your legs out. So I widened my legs out. And he said, spread your arms out. I said, okay, spread my arms out. And to my amazement, the weight came up. Sometimes in your life, it has nothing to do with your ability, but everything to do with how you handle what you're going through. Everything to do with how you handle it. Sometimes it ain't bigger than you. Sometimes you're just grabbing it the wrong way. Me and my wife had a conversation, and we were talking about some things that were frustrating her. And lo and behold, you know, I'm the type of person, I don't, you know, like I said, I don't claim to be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I got a little common sense, you know. She's the book sense when I'm the common sense one. And so I began to ask her, well, what's going on? I'm a therapist now, y'all. I'm like, what's going on? Sit down on the couch, lay back. She began to tell me all this stuff. And so I'm sitting there with my proverbial notepad, not literally, but in my mind, taking notes of what she's saying. And she said, this, that, and the other. And this just, and all of it together is just throwing me for a loop. It's keeping me distracted. I can't really focus on nothing. And I said, okay, you name this, you name that, you name that, you name this, and you name that. I said, well, how many of that stuff, all that stuff you just named, how much it was voluntary? I want you to separate what was put on you by somebody else versus what you voluntarily picked up. I want to get this to somebody because sometimes your frustration has a lot to do with what you voluntarily do. Sometimes we put our own self in a hole. Sometimes we put too much weight on our own self. And it has nothing to do with our daily obligations, but everything to do with what we chose to do. Elijah wasn't instructed by God to call fire down from heaven. I need you to see this. He was not instructed. Nowhere in the Bible you're going to find where God told him to do that. Nowhere. You're not going to find it. Now, it was a good miracle. It's a good point to talk about faith and to talk about miracles and to talk about the power of God. It's a good sticking point to get people excited, but God didn't tell him to do it. He didn't. God honored the fact that he had the faith, but he didn't tell him to do it. He put that on himself. Now, maybe if he had not went out on a limb and did this himself, he wouldn't be in the position that he found himself in. It was amazing. These people were not of God. Why not kill them? These people were against God. And they were killing God's prophets. Why not? But he took it on himself. He said, you know what? Go get all your boys and meet me. You know how we used to do back in the day in the skating ring? Go get all your boys. Ain't that what we used to do about 10, 12, 15 years ago? Meet me at the skating ring. That's what he did. He said, go get all of them. And he killed them all. And now the same person that killed almost 900 people by himself wants to die because of one person. It's the weight. It's frustrating. Don't make yourself think that you're too big to be frustrated. Don't make yourself think that there's not going to be something in your life that makes you want to crack. Don't make yourself think that you're just so big and you're just so mighty and nothing ever bothers you. Don't make that mistake, because you might find yourself right where he is, asking God to take his life. Essentially, he said, I'm tired of it. I can't do it no more. The Bible said, he said it's enough. I can't take it. Take my life. When things get hard in your life, you've got two choices. You can either fold from the pressure or you can reset. I'm going to say that again. When things get tough and it feels like you can't handle it, you have two choices. You can either fold under pressure or you can reset. Just like I did with those weights. I could have just walked out the gym and said, man, I ain't doing that. There ain't no way in the world. But I chose to reset. This is what this series is about. Teaching you how to reset, rethink, renew, recharge. Get things going again. Your life is not over. It's just starting. I can imagine God looking at Elijah, telling him to take his life and laughing. Looking at him with a smirk on his face. I mean, God has to have a sense of humor. The Bible said that when he laid down after telling God to take his life, the Bible said that an angel came to him. He tapped him on the shoulder, told him to get up. Ain't that just like God? Right when you just feel like being sorrowful, right when you just feel like having a big pity party, he sent the angel to say, get up. The Bible said Elijah got up, and when he got up, he found some food next to him. Now, he wasn't distraught enough not to eat. The Bible said he took that food down, drank that jar of water, went back to sleep. After he went back to sleep, angel came again. Get up. The Bible said he got up again, found that same cake and that same jar of water again. He ate it. He drank it. And the Bible said, watch this, I need you to see this. The Bible said that after he ate that last food that God prepared for him, that the angel brought to him, it lasted him 40 days. The Bible said that he went 40 days off the strength of what the angel brought him. But he had to get to a point of frustration where he felt like his life was over in order for God to restore him of what he really needed. Maybe it wasn't his faith that was in doubt. Maybe it was the fact that he was just weak and out of strength. Be honest, sometimes we get that way. We get to where we just fought so long our arms get tired. And when our arms get tired, we have no defense. Could it be that that's right where God wants us to be? Where we can't fight for ourselves? To show us that he was there fighting for us all the time? Yeah. Sometimes God will let you punch yourself out. Like Muhammad Ali, the rope-a-dope. He'll just let you just punch, all fight. And he get you around that ninth round when your arms get too heavy for you to lift them, and he'll just box you out. Sometimes God will let you punch yourself out just to let you see it wasn't you no way. You've got to learn in this season to reset. Reset. Don't be ashamed. All of us have a point in our life where we have to do it. Reset. Get things back in order. Get things back moving. I know it's frustrating. I know it's hard. I know you feel like giving up. But it's right in that moment that God will show up in your life. And he'll say, get up. Get up. I've got more. Elijah went on to do some more miracles. He had more for Elijah to do. You can't give up now, in this moment. Get up. Get up. And watch what God does in the next season. Take the trajectory of your life to a whole new level. The Bible said when he ate that food, he went 40 days off the strength of it. That means God gave him some strength. He wanted his life to be taken, but God gave him strength. He gave him the strength to go further than he thought he could ever go. He chose to reset. He chose not to die in that moment, but to reset.